प्रविश्य मम वाचमिमां प्रसुप्तां सञ्जीवयत्यखिलशक्तिधरस्वधाम्ना अन्यांश्च हस्तचरणश्रवणत्वगादीन् प्राणान्नमो भगवते पुरुषाय तुभ्यं प्राणान्नमो भगवते पुरुषाय तुभ्यम्.
So here repeatedly Krishna is saying that your adhikara is in the karma yoga, not in the exclusive jnana pursuit. Again in the next chapter he is saying there are the twofold pursuit. One is karma yogena, jnana yogena sankhyanam, karma yogena yoginam. This discussion has been going on. So karmani eva adhikara, when he is saying it is Arjuna is fit for the karma yoga, not for the kevala jnana nishtha is the meaning. Ma is used for don't. Ma is not na. Ma karma phala hetu, the ma phaleshu kadachana. Here some word is missing which you have to supply as in many of the shlokas. Ma phaleshu sangaha astu or ma phaleshu saktaha bhava. Something like that. Bhuhu. Just like the third one. Phaleshu. Ma phaleshu, if we say it is enough. That means you don't get fully engrossed in the result. Now the moment we say result, again a misconception will come. Suppose you are producing car. The result is the car. Then unless you think very well, get all the advice from everybody, study very well, that when my factory is going to produce the car, will it be usable by the people? Will it have its market and not? Is not all the attention should be in the phala. Whenever we are doing anything, even simple phala like when you are eating, you should be thinking of what is, whether my hunger will be satiated, whether my body will be able to, it will be good for my body or not, whether the taste will be suitable for me or not, which restaurant shall I go, this or that, what you want. Everywhere with the mind should be in the phala. So it is not the objective phala they are saying. Ma phaleshu when they are saying, it is not about the objective phala. Mind has to think about the objective phala. It is the phala internal that by producing the car, we will sell the car and then lot of money will come. I will have a great profit and with that money I will do this, do that and then I will become happy. That is the phala. The last phala is the I will become happy. So that ma karma phala hetuhu. Your mind is only remaining in that I will become happy. By opening this factory, I will become happy. Not on the opening of the factory, what should I do and all. Just for becoming rich, and by becoming rich, I will become happy. But you have to have the proper intelligence and other resources to do what you are going to do. If you don't think that you will only have the adverse phala, you will become unhappy and you will get bound more and more by that. Do you get my point? So, ma phaleshu means not in the objective phala they are saying. Don't think that by doing it I am going to become happy. Nothing by doing nothing you are going to become happy. You do it for the purpose of doing whatever you are fit to do, whatever is good for the society, whatever has come to the situation which has come around you. You follow that naturally. We don't follow that because of our desires. When the mind is free of the desires, you will naturally do whatever is to be done. And your mind will be fully engrossed in the work because you are not worried about whether I am going to be successful or unsuccessful. So Arjuna was told that when you are fighting the war, your mind should not be on the Rajya Sukha Lobha. Mind should be on how can I kill the people who have to be killed, and how am I going to help in establishing the righteous kingdom. In the process you may die. That possibility is very much there. You may die, but you have dedicated your life to establish the righteous kingdom. It is just like those who fought the independence movement. What happened? Most of them died. But they did for the benefit of the country, for independence. So, it is not that by gaining the ultimate result, oh, when the country becomes independent, then I will become the prime minister or this or that, and then I will become happy. Then it would have been wrong. They had dedicated their life to make the country free. In the process, they might have died also. It is not for any personal gain also. So, ma karma phala hetuhu bhu means don't think about whether I will become happy or not and whether I will become successful or not. If you have all the resources, you think well and do something which is important to be done, etc. Normally there will be success, there will be failure also. How many times Tatas have failed? A good business should be able to sustain the failure. They had dedicated all their family property, family jewelry also was given off. I don't think they got upset about it. They had to do it. The other day in GBGC, our Google man was saying that Google, we always look at the success of Google. Actually, Google fails much more than the successful projects. Whatever project in Google cannot have, he said some data that 1 billion users, they considered that project to be failure. Any project launched by Google, if it doesn't pick up 1 billion users, then that is scrapped. They don't pursue it further. It is considered to be a failure. They are successful, they have been successful only for 8 projects, they said. Like YouTube, Google has quite a few projects. Yeah. So, how do they do it? They try to do, and they are quite knowledgeable that it may fail. They are trying to do the best in the process, but they put it as whatever is for the welfare of the people, we do it. That is, Google is doing only for the welfare of the people. We can understand a little stealthiness there also. Google is not doing only for the welfare of the people. If 1 billion users are there, means the advertisement money will be quite much. Google will be sustained. That they did not say. Why do they have to sustain? Na? 1 billion users means your advertisement money will be huge. So you cannot sustain with a small number of users. So you may project it as we are always doing for the welfare of the people. Google is not selfish. Google is equally welfare oriented, selfish also. Without that they cannot sustain. Anyway, so like that, suppose Yajna in the Karma Kanda, it was, as I said yesterday, the Yajna was only they were doing with desirefulness, desiring heaven, desiring children, desiring kingdom. So anybody doing Yajna, they were doing with desire. And Yajna is an external work where you are offering certain things in the Homakunda, and there are so many ancillary things and all these things. But in Bhagavad Gita, Yajna doesn't mean that at all. It is just the reverse of it. Bhagavad Gita presented Yajna as completely an internal sadhana. What is it? Anything you do without desire becomes Yajna. Then how this reverse, there in Karma Kanda, you do Yajna only with desires. Here anything you do without desire, it becomes Yajna. Why? The purpose of Bhagavad Gita is internal. And what is the goal of Bhagavad Gita? To become unified with that universal soul. So, Yajna means offering. In material Yajna, what are you doing? You are offering materials to the fire. And what is happening to the material? It is becoming vapor and it is going up. It gets lighter, sublimated, going up. In this case, offering is, various kinds of offering can be. Whenever your mind is constricted, suppose you are selfishly doing something, offer that selfishness to the universal Lord. That is, do it without selfishness. Immediately your mind will get vaporized, it will become expanded, just as it happened to the material in the Yajna. By any action, when the mind is constricted, it is looking for a selfish gain or anything. Suppose even you are blaming somebody, mind is quarreling with, in your mind you are quarreling with somebody. You just offer it to the universal Lord, that why should I quarrel? She has done whatever she wanted to do. I am doing whatever I am doing. The earth is hosting everybody. Everybody has his place in this earth. Why should I blame anybody or do like that? The moment you think, don't you feel a great expansion in your mind, a lightness in your mind? That is the yajna. That is, whatever is constricting your mind, offer that constriction to the expansion. मन में जितनी संकीर्णता है, छोटेपन है, उसको खत्म करना ही यज्ञ है. कैसे? Consider that everything is offered to the universal Lord. The whole universe is going on. Is there any desire anywhere, any selfish desire anywhere? The earth is going around the sun, the moon is going around the earth, the plants are going, the flowers are blossoming. Are they doing because of desire? Whether anybody sees or not, the flowers in the Nandankanana will be blossoming with its full blossom. A small grass flower and a big rose will never compete with each other. That grass flower will never say that I am not beautiful because I am small, nobody is looking at me, so try to become like the big rose so that people look at me. Nothing. They are naturally, whatever is there in their gene, naturally they are evolving in that. And in that is the universal Lord's wish is fulfilled and everybody is joyous. The nature remains in Ananda like that. Like that, a human being also, whatever qualities we have, including our self-effort, our self-will, our willpower, if we offer it to the universal Lord in the universal cycle of things as is happening, then that becomes the yajna. That is, whatever we do, we have to do it as an offering to the universal Lord. Not because of any selfish aim. Ma karma phala heturbhu. Not for becoming happy, not for gaining happiness like that. So yajna is also internal, like everything is internal here. So those who have the book, you go on to 2.47, second chapter 47, which I have just said. Let us chant a little. We have not chanted at all. Karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana
Ma bhaleshu kadachana
ma karma phalaheturbhuhu
Ma karma phalaheturbhuhu
Mate sangostva karmani.
Mate sangostva karmani.
See, he says Mate sangostva karmani. That is, when you are not working, looking at the result that I will become happy, there is a chance that then why should I work? You will become idle. He says that no, you should not prefer that. There should not be any special clinging to idleness also. Akarmani. Mate sangostu akarmani. Because that will again delude you. Whatever work comes, you go on doing and take the work as an opportunity to purify your mind, to expand your mind, to get rid of all the mental constrictions and intelligential draws. That is the idea. Saying that, he said, then how are you going to do the karma? After that, saying that you are fit for the karma yoga, and do the karma yoga not getting fixed to that ultimate phala of internal phala of I will become happy. Do it like that. And don't have any special attachment to not doing anything or becoming idle also. Saying that, then how should I perform the work? He says, Yogastha Kuru Karmani. This is the most important concept of Bhagavad Gita. Any karma has to be done being anchored in yoga. People say, I am doing karma yoga, I am doing karma yoga. When they are just simply doing karma, they say, I am doing karma yoga. Simply doing karma is not karma yoga. The karma becomes yoga when the mind and the buddhi is seated in yoga. That yoga attitude of the mind is the important point there, not the karma. Whether you do karma or not also, it doesn't matter. The mind should be seated in yoga. That is the main thing. So he says, Yogasthah kuru karmani, sangam tyaktva dhananjaya. How will you do yogastha, remaining in yoga? Provided you are able to get rid of the sangha. What is the sangha? Sangha means a special preferential clinging to something. In second chapter itself, they have explained how we are developing sangha. Dhyayato vishayan pumsaha sangasteshu upajayate sangat sanjayate kamaha. The desire is not the first thing, it comes from the sangha. What is that sangha? Dhyayato vishayan pumsaha sangasteshu upajayate. By constantly thinking about something, we develop sangha towards that. Suppose 50 years ago, there was no mobile at all. So there was no question of any desire for a mobile also. Now, the car also, there was nothing, only 1 or 2 cars there. But now what happens, even if you have a car or a mobile, but you see another thing which is a little better, first you see, then you again see, then you use it perhaps a little, then slowly you think about it, if I get such an item, how good it will be. Thinking, you develop a sangha towards that. Just like our own children, we develop sangha. It is my child, it is my child, it is my child. The child is becoming a gunda, but it is my child, it is my child. So thinking about it, you are developing sangha towards it. Dhyayato vishayan pumsaha. So the same technique, cleverly Krishna has utilized, that thinking about the vishayas, means the objective attainments and all. Thinking about that, you are becoming attached to that, especially clinging to that. So you replace that Vishaya by Atma Vishaya, by the Atma, by the scripture. So thinking about the Atma, thinking about the purity, thinking about unaffectedness, you develop Sangha for that. That is what is meant by Sat Sangha. That is also Sangha. So Sat Sangha is a Sangha which will eliminate all other Vishaya Sanghas. That is why Swamiji always says, how many mind hours you are spending on this, not meditative hours. For the sadhana, how many mind hours you are spending. That means how many hours of the day the mind is thinking of this goal. Bhagavad Gita is asking us to think always. All your activities, you replace the goal of the activity by the selfish gain, you replace by this goal of attaining the ultimate impersonal, universal dimension. So that universal dimension, you develop Sangha to that, through all your activities also. So the Satsanga is something which will take away all your Vishaya Sangha. Siddhya siddhyo samo bhutva samatvam yoga uchyate. See, this is the definition of yoga here. Samatvam yoga uchyate. So this is the defining shloka for the yoga which Bhagavad Gita is speaking about. He says, Siddhya siddhyo samo bhutva samatvam yoga uchyate. Samatva is called yoga. What is the samatva? Siddhi and asiddhi remain equal. Now again you have to think that siddhi and asiddhi, how can we remain equal? Suppose I am doing a work. Should I not look for the success? If you don't look for it, then you cannot do anything at all. It is a foolishness. Without looking for a success in a particular project, will you undertake the project? Why not we think? There is no question of undertaking a project when we are not looking for the success. You look for the success 100%. Go to any number of experts, consult this, consult that, invest after asking, everything you do. But, what is that but? I will become happy. That carrot. Not to think of that. That is whether you have siddhi or asiddhi. Here our mind is, I will become successful and then you will have it and then I will become happy. Remove that. Whether it is success, whether it is failure, I am trying my best. That is the best we can do. There is always a providential element. So we cannot say that we will be always successful. In spite of our best work also, it may not be. We will be equal. I have told you the story of our Keshtada in Dakshin Khanda, that how the cultivators of our country, they practice Vedanta. After the great flood in Bengal, I think 78 flood, where everything was thrown off. We were going to our Guru's place, Dakshin Khanda, by train, and we saw that the thatched roof of the huts, they were hanging from the coconut tree. So you can understand the wall of water which had come. How will the thatched hut go to the thatched roof, go to the coconut tree? That means the water was that high, and it was the dam had yielded. Like a wall it had come, sweeping everything all over the country. I mean all over the area, all the villages after village. So when we reached there, we found that the cultivator who used to work for our Baba, he was sitting on the veranda. I felt that we felt sad looking at him. So I said that, Keshtada, this time everything has gone. You must be suffering a lot. What suffering? This time the government had given us very good seed. They had made also all irrigation arrangement and all. We had got a bumper crop this time. But before we collected the crop, the water came and everything got swept. What is there? We will again get this. Government will again support us. We will get the seed. We will cultivate again. We will use everything, and again we will have bumper crop, and again the flood may come and take it away. They are living Vedanta. And coolly he is saying that. We are making so much of magnified halla gulla about it. When something, little thing happens even. Very, very small something has happened in the house. We make so much of halla about it. No? That, as I said in Bhagavad Gita, it is not speaking about anything external. The result, the sannyasa, the naishkarma siddhi, everything is about our mind and intelligence. It is about internal. Bhagavad Gita doesn't speak anything about the external. Then, of course, it is speaking about what food should we take and all. Those things are different. Then, if we notice, then you will find that each chapter is a yoga, but everywhere the focus is on the seeker or the devotee. Generally in devotion we speak about God, the focus is on God, generally in religion. Here in devotion also, in the bhakti yoga also, the focus is entirely on the devotee. And who is the best devotee? He has enumerated 24 qualities. So these are some very shining points which should set our path, set our sadhana on the right path, on the correct path. In religion, our focus is on the God. We pray to the God, we ask for many things. Somebody, whether he is existing or not, we have a faith in God and we do it. In spirituality, the whole process is entirely different. It has to do with the devotee or the seeker. That is, the focus shifts from the God to our own being. And it has everything to do with the qualities we cultivate. It is not only about bhakti or Raja Yoga or any yoga. Finally, even in the Jnana Yoga, as the chapters move from 13th chapter onwards, it takes up the knowledge, which is the ultimate sadhana. And there, surprisingly, he has mentioned about 20 qualities, amanitvam, adambhitvam, etc. And the last sentence is, etad jnanam iti proktam, ajnanam yadato anyatha. That means the knowledge or jnana is the conglomeration, is the assembly of these 20 qualities. Whatever else is ajnana, ignorance. What does it mean? That we think that knowledge is knowing about the Atma and all that. But it is clearly indicating that if you have an actualized, realized knowledge of the Atma, you must have these qualities. That is why the focus has to be, for a seeker, the focus should shift from the self-realization to the cultivate the qualities of the self. All the 20 qualities, if you take, once we had discussed that 13th chapter here also. And I showed that each of the 20 qualities, when you take it to the peak, it is nothing other than the self. As the other day I was saying that Vairagya, the Parakashta, the ultimate of Vairagya is the self. The ultimate of Viveka is the self. Everything will be taken to the self alone. So the focus is all on our cultivating the qualities. This means a great correction on our path. Those who are still thinking in a different manner, they should correct their path later than not doing it. That it is all, that is why the so-called religious people are not necessarily good seekers, because they are guided by a sort of rigidity, rigid frame of mind with their faith. Spirituality is not that. Spirituality means flexibility. It means to embrace the whole world as it is. So that is a very important point to note, that the focus is on us, on our qualities, on our virtues. In some places he has mentioned 20, some places it is 24, some places it is 16, like that, but they all mean the same. There is no difference at all. And the other most important point is that in Bhagavad Gita, the complaint all of you make is by Bhagavad Gita denounces that. What is the complaint everybody has about sadhana? Tell me. Huh? That is when you are doing sadhana, but about most of the people, there is no time. I have to look after my family, I have to go to the office. So actually in our global convention on Bhagavad Gita, GBGC, Global Bhagavad Gita Convention in Bay Area, just in the last month, after saying that, I mentioned that all the Bay Area people have the complaint that we are so busy in our life, in our IT, mostly they are all IT professionals, so in our work and in our family life, that there is no time for sadhana. Bhagavad Gita doesn't say that you need a separate time for sadhana. So where is your complaint? It says that all your activities have to be converted into sadhana. And it is not a specific activity of meditation or doing exercise or anything. Whatever you are doing, and what is the basic picture? Arjuna was about to fight a great war. And that war activity was converted into sadhana for Arjuna, to go to that transcendental dimension. He wanted to leave and go away. But Krishna said that no, here is your sadhana. You have to fight the same war, but not with the same mindset. You have to elevate your mind, go to that impersonal dimension where it is a need of the society for you to fight the war, and with that you have to fight. So where is the question of not getting any time? Whatever action we are doing, Bhagavad Gita is saying that you remain in the same action, but with a different mindset. Change your mindset. And the actions are the opportunities for you to change the mindset. The same action which you are doing with a selfish motive, as Arjuna was doing, that activity itself you have to do without the selfishness.